I just refuse to let failure be an option for me. You've got to go and you've got to get where you need to get to and you got to figure it out. And I think it's really interesting that as life goes on, that drop for whatever the challenge in front of you, it gets less. So you learn to get used to what's happening. I remember seeing a car next door to my salon when I was little hit my water pipe, and I pulled up, and it pops up on my Facebook sometimes. I laugh now, but I remember just kind of freaking out a little bit, crying. It was like every penny counted back there. And so I see that picture sometimes and I'm like, now I'd be like, just call a plumber. It's fine. It's not a big deal. But that many years ago, that felt big.
Welcome to Brazen and Bold. Today's conversation is focused all on scaling with intention and building a thriving salon, a culture, and what it takes. I'm joined today by Lisa of Wild Olive, and her salon is now growing and expanding into a 4th location. So not 1, not 2, not 3, but growing into 4 locations in North Carolina. And if you're a salon owner listening, you know how incredible that feat is. So I'm really excited to dive in with Lisa and hear what she's done to accomplish all things she has. Thank you for joining us, Lisa.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Tell me a little bit about the origin stories. How did you turn into a salon owner, let alone a hairstylist? Tell me a little bit about the foundation for you.
Yeah, so I worked at a salon and for several years, and they closed. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to see if I can do this. And I rented this little space, renovated it, not really having any money or plan, just I'm going to be a go-getter and I'm going to figure it out. And so we did that. And several years went by, and I just remember my very first employee come to me. I think I was faxing something at the library. That's how long ago that was. And she wanted to work for me. And I thought, somebody wants to work for me? That looks very different nowadays. But I still remember that moment of growing and having 4 people. And so then we ended up 4 years ago, actually bought the building that we started at. And that has additional properties. So we have rental space, for different businesses. So that was a huge monument. But 10 years after that, we grew and we had 20 some employees at that one. And we decided to open into Jacksonville. And that has been there for 10 years. And then we have Moorhead that just hit 5. So,
my goodness.
Just keep going.
Huge congrats on the purchase of the building. I know for so many, rent is a thing that just swallows them. So how incredible of an accomplishment to have that building toward your own portfolio. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. So from the time you were at that salon that closed until now, how many years has that been total for this growth trajectory?
We are just about to hit 18 years total with Wild Olive, with Swansboro being our main location.
Your flagship, if you will. Okay. Well, that is really beautiful. And I think some people would never aspire to having that many locations because it would feel so overwhelming, right? I mean, think about going from 1 or 2 chairs to 4 employees to now multiple locations. I would love to know, what is one leadership lesson you've learned along the way that completely, changed how you ran your business or how you approached what you were doing?
Absolutely. So I'm sure many salon owners have made this mistake. So I do feel like it gets easier the more people you have if you partner and have them as team members. But one leadership mistake that I truly made, to be honest, is I gave some people that were maybe master stylists busy behind the chair. I would think, I'll just give you a higher commission and that's safe for me. And I'm not paying you a salary. And it's you'll be invested. That was absolutely not the case at all. They're a busy stylist. They don't have time to manage. Yeah. And they felt like they were worth that. It no longer felt like a separate, that was the bonus part of it. So I've definitely learned to have that as 2 separate entities. So here's your commission and here's your hat that you're going to wear, whether it's education or leadership. so that it's always clear.
Two separate containers. You get paid this amount for leading education, and here's your commission when you cut hair. I think that's a good thing to call out. The person I bought my salon from had done that, where anybody who took a little bit more ownership or did more work, it was like, well, I'm just going to give you a commission increase. That commission increase was not necessarily tied to a metric or a performance. It was just, you do extra. And then what if they get busy and stop doing extra? Like you said, well, you're stuck paying them more. So that's a good one to learn. How did you back yourself out of it?
Oh, well, I actually did back myself out. And one of the employees that I had at that position is still with me today. And it was one of the most terrifying conversations. I used my business coach to kind of help during around the COVID timeframe, which is Carrie Davis. And I've had her still since then, helps me not reinvent the wheel, I guess you could say sometimes, but you still have to be the person to do the work.
Yep.
So I really had to sit through the ups and downs of the conversation. And we were able to meet where we needed to meet. So it was good.
Well, that's incredible. I'm glad to hear that they're still with you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when those hard conversations, like we have to rip the Band-Aid off. This is actually like a hole that's leaking in the ship and we have to change it. And sometimes the best way to do it is you have the hard conversation. They say, well, I don't want to do that. And then you say, okay. And you start from scratch with somebody new. And that can be its own challenge. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. And how long have you had your business coach?
I've had her 5-6 years now.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Throughout your careers, you've developed as a leader and as an owner. I mean, you've grown into multi-locations and multi-million-dollar brand, which is a tremendous accomplishment.
Yeah.
How many of those years or how often have you sought outside coaching or mentoring? Is this something new for you or something you've always done?
I've always reached out to people that I feel like inspire me, whether it's the salon they have, the leadership they have, maybe some employees that they have, just whatever their vibe is. I will soak that up like a sponge. And I still remember all the way back when I started my salons, and actually Ashley Metcalf it was at that event. And I remember Scott from Scott J up in Manhattan. He was teaching it in like a basic benchmark class, and I was such a baby. And I still remember that those are like your stepping stones that you just soak it all in.
Yeah. So you're consistently pouring yourself into education, whether or not you had a specific mentor you were finding opportunities to learn from. I mean, Scott
Yeah.
J is awesome. We love Scott. But just learning in those ways, which I think is a great thing to hear as well for any stylist, whether or not an aspiration is to own a business or just to grow yourself, how important it is to find people who are doing work that you admire, accomplishing things that you think are incredible. Even I've noticed too, even if I have no desire for the record, at the time of I reserve the right to change my mind at any time. But
True.
as of May 2026, I have no interest in developing a product line or any sort of retail brand, right? But I still like talking to people who are doing that to see how their mind ticks. Like, what are they doing? Because sometimes a person who's accomplishing in one area or category of the profession, it might bring an insight that we can bring behind the chair, how we consult
Right.
somebody or how we deliver a certain way. So I think it's nice, no matter if you have a specific aspiration to own a
Yeah.
business for people, but to learn from people at this point, honestly, like you, Lisa. So I think
Okay.
it's cool to know as well that you've had this mentor for 5 years and you've gone through that process. What has that support done for you in your leadership?
Yeah, so I actually am very open and vulnerable with my team, always having confidence, but I am open for them seeing their own benchmarks, what they make for their service dollars. I don't hide any of that. I do bring in my leaders to have their own coaching so that they can work through any kind of issues that they might have in the salon that gives them a little insight to make decisions. Obviously, we meet once a week, whether it's Zoom or we'll go to lunch, but it's nice for them to also have that outside. And they know that I end up listening to their calls so that I don't have to be on it, but we're able to like troubleshoot or create challenges or opportunities to win at. So
Okay, that's
Giving
a bit.
them that strength. It is that leadership that it takes a village. I'm never like, it's me. No, it takes a village.
But also takes a leader like you to understand that and to provide those resources. There's a lot of people who don't invest in their teams in the way that you have. And that's why I was so excited to have you on because not only have you been able to stay consistent and grow, but the way that you invest in your team and the way you show up as a leader, as well as your emphasis on education and supporting the building around you. I think that that's something that a lot of us could really learn from. Um, so you meet with your team, your leaders every week.
Yep. We'll just do a quick Zoom call. Sometimes we'll meet in person, but just some way to stay connected and understand what's going through. And then we also have something that we use like a jot form that they fill out so I can see their numbers, where they're at, what their goal is, who they met with. Almost as like a task list, if you want to call it that, but it's
Uh,
handy.
okay. Like a whiteboard. These are your chore chart. Are we checking the boxes?
Absolutely.
Right, nice touch
Yes.
point. It's a nice touch point and accountability. How long do you usually spend in those meetings?
Anywhere from, we've spent a longer time, but we try to keep them around 45 minutes and respect each other's time.
Awesome. And you have about how many of those people that are leading? Because I mean, with multiple locations, I imagine you have a few positions at each location that require your touch point.
Yeah, so I have actually a general manager. She used to be the manager of one location. So this at time is now kind of the challenge, but a huge growth. I finally have somebody that's like fully on salary, not doing hair, pulled her from doing hair. So she manages two locations. Then Holly does our Swansboro. So two, but we are currently in the position of creating and training leaders to take over and be that point of contact for those teams.
Okay, nice. So then, like a general manager who's now the point of regular contact, and then you're the
Yeah.
I'm going to check in, make sure numbers are looking good. I mean, that's real
Right.
organization and structural flow. That's incredible. What's kept you motivated through some of your more difficult seasons of growth or some of these different things? What's how have you kept going after 18 years? Because that's a grind. I mean, it's a lot. What happens?
I I just refuse to let like failure be an option for me. So you've got to go and you've got to get where you need to get to and you got to figure it out. And I think it's really interesting that as life goes on, that like that drop for whatever the challenge in front of you, it gets less. So you learn to, get used to what's happening. I remember seeing a car next door to my salon when I was little, if you want to call it that, hit my water pipe. And I pulled up and it pops up on my Facebook sometimes. I laugh now, but I remember just kind of freaking out a little bit, crying. It was like every penny counted back there. And so I see that picture sometimes and I'm like, now I'd be like, just call a plumber. It's fine. It's like not a big deal. But
Yeah.
that many years ago, that felt big.
Yeah. Just basically understanding, like, it sounds like your muscle for the stress and whatever comes at you just has gotten stronger and stronger. So you're just saying, just keep going. That's it. That's the secret. Just keep doing it.
I mean, I guess you could say that, but no, it's the passion and the drive. You got to be a little bit crazy to just always be going, and then also try to balance having a family and a life,
Right.
and that also helps from the day to day when you pick your battles. I always kind of refer to you have like five I don't cares, if you want to call it that. And you have to reserve a few for your family. So through the day, you kind of have to pick like what feels big and heavy. What do you need to do? And that kind of rolls into mental health also with your team, kind of navigating them through that.
I think that that's perfect. If every water pipe or flood or hot water going out turned into a full blown crisis and crying, we would all be breathing in paper bags or in a fetal position in a corner. And sometimes I still am, to be honest with you. But you
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
have to.
it still happens.
There's going to be a red alert to you. We were in the salon, and it was actually, I think it was for prom. So this was just a few weeks ago. But
Mm.
I went into the salon, and it's prom, and pretty much every chair is prom hair, which is blow drying, curling, etc. And the power went out. The power grid just went room, and everybody's like,
Oh,
"What do we do?" And I thought, well, we're gonna do some nice chignons, I guess. Like, what do you do?
right.
The neighborhood power went out. It wasn't like we could. go next door. And what do you really do? Go knock on a neighbor's house and plug the curling iron in. So I said, we're going to have to figure it out and pivot. And thankfully, the lights and the electricity came on just a few minutes later. But I mean, it felt like maybe the end of the world for some people for 2 minutes. And I'm thinking, oh, it gets way worse when the water doesn't work and you're in the middle of a perm. And that's something you
Yes.
can't not rinse. That's when you drive to the gas station, you get a hose, like, listen, folks, it's happened. So
Yeah.
to kind of roll with it sometimes. And like you said, you got to be your own variety of crazy to actually do this, let alone on the scale you've done it on. I would say brave, driven, intense, creative. I wouldn't go crazy, but crazy is a word that some people use to describe
Yeah.
those.
I
I
mean,
love
it sums it up in a nutshell, right? Like, I don't know. You just got to get in there, and you do have to be brave, and you do have to face tough conversations or events that happen in the day. I was, this sounds random, but the street signs that'll be like left lane ends or
yeah.
dead end or something. And there was one that was in front of the salon that was actually facing the salon. Like they hadn't turned it to the road. And all I could think of is like, is that supposed to be a sign that this is a dead end? So, shit, we made it funny, but it kind of was one of those where you're like, that's been there a couple days. Is this supposed to be towards us?
Right. Who's I'm feeling pointed at. I love it. I
Yeah.
want to do what like especially when it comes to locations. I have one team, well, at the salon. I have a few different businesses, but at the salon I have one team, one location. What changes the most as you expand from one location into multiple? Like what does that require maybe of a leader, but also how do you preserve culture while you're doing it? Because that can be very, very hard. If you like love
You're
a lot of
so
people,
right.
I love what's going on here. I'm going to do two of these. And then you're like, whoa, how do you, how do you keep that under wraps or under control?
Yeah, it definitely gets a little bit harder when they get bigger. And creating the right leaders has been a challenge because honestly, Holly and Haley and Laura, we've all been together. So we kind of learned leadership together. I don't want to say that we lived our ding dong life, kind of making mistakes. And now a new leader really is like, tell me what you need me to do, task, task, task. And, it was so organic. We were really spoiled and it's a beautiful thing that will never happen again.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is definitely a challenge for that. We did a team bowling to celebrate our top 200 yesterday, and we're used to having the whole team there. And you really didn't have as many people. So it's one of those like creating activities, talking about it, posting about it, not nagging anybody not to go, but just be like, we had the best time. You missed it, to like pull people back in and connect to them. So
great culture. And huge congratulations, a very well-deserved honor as one of the top 200 salons in the country by Salon Today. So I get to see you in just a few days. IRL, will you be there too?
good.
Your work. Hey, I'm so excited. Will you have some of your
Yeah.
teachers with you?
Yeah, there's going to be four of us. Well, four of them. So five of us total.
Okay. Well, I am so excited to meet you then and like be able to celebrate and toast to you on that huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
Did you get in? Were you in growth or leadership? What was your category?
Growth this year.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We've seen a lot of people submit, and I encourage anybody listening, if you
Yeah.
haven't done it yet, submit and you won't win. Probably you won't win the first time, maybe not even the second, maybe never, but keep trying. Tantrum acknowledged in the same category, which now I feel incredibly humbled talking to you because you're such a badass that we got the same, we're not the same, but we're like trying. We want to be cool like
Yeah.
you. But any kind of
It's so great when you go to those kind of events just to be around people that have all aspired to do. And, it's supposed to be 500,000 people try to send their applications and stuff in. It's like do the legwork, keep a really good P&L because you got to submit that. And I see that a lot in the salons too. Like they don't really see that. But I think everybody should submit, whether your salon is absolutely beautiful. So many categories.
there's a lot of cool categories to submit for. And I
Yeah.
think it's fun for your team and your community. To me, I think being honored for a top 200 it's not like bragging rights as an owner as much as like team, we have something good going. You know what? Like, and community, our guests, we're working really hard to make something special for you. And we've been honored for that. So it's a good bragging right. And in your case, incredibly well deserved. You're talking about P&L and all of the things that sometimes people's eyes glaze over when they hear about it. I would
Yeah.
love to hear, I mean, there's no way you could do what you're doing at the scale you are without having process
No.
and systems. I would love to know secret sauce, what processes and systems have you put into place or that you're starting to put even more into place that have helped you scale successfully?
Yeah, it seems like there's always another system for a system. As soon as you think you're like, got it, ride smooth, you're like, now I need a system for that, you know?
Yep.
But I like to outsource some of my tasks that don't serve me. I don't want to speak hair, but sometimes you're like, how many hair balayages would that cost me to break even? You know, what is that worth to me to really think about that? Um, but I use you guys for Spark for doing our social media also and being able to answer our Google reviews and just stuff that used to be very tasking where I'd be the front desk. I'm like, did you answer our reviews? Did you post our pictures? That takes that legwork off that they can utilize time with their guest or even for the P&L. Like I've hired Salon numbers. I did used to use World Financial and they were great too. They were both great platforms, but just learning to make my life easier. So I do have time to try to connect with my team and keep everybody involved and still be present to the family too. But yeah, outsource where you can.
I mean, obviously, and this is not to push people toward my business Spark, but before I even had Spark, the way I had Spark was because I did that. I delegated and outsourced to heck and back.
Right.
I was called bossy at some points in my life. Coming to find out, I was just very good at leadership. So those are different ways of saying the same thing, just like you're crazy.
Right.
And which one are we? So I am bossy and I love delegation. And to hear that, that's been a huge part of your ability to scale and succeed is amazing. But also processes. You're meeting your leaders every single week for around 45
Mhm.
minutes. That's something that people, I'm going to be honest, a lot of people I work with will think that they want to do, and then they wind up doing it every other week or every month, or pretty soon it's like, sometimes we talk.
Yeah, and it does get like that. You know, you have to almost like pull each other back in, and they will. They're like, are we having our manager meeting? I'm like, oh, I was about to slip. I was about to slip. So it's nice that they hold me a little bit accountable too. So
Yeah, but it's a huge thing. Like that's just a process. It's something that they can expect and predict. And I've noticed the more consistent I've been with looking at benchmarks, looking at dashboards, looking at numbers, looking at it with
yeah.
my team, whether it's the leadership or our stylist, I'll say, oh, looks like Lisa's rebooking has dropped a little bit, or her retail, whatever's going on. Let's look at a few other things. And if I'm looking at that regularly on the weekly and the monthly, I
Mhm.
can usually catch things before we have this giant, divide, and all of a sudden we're like,
So
Lisa,
true. So
how,
true.
and we find out that there was some kind of thing we could have coached to sooner. So I think it's a way of kind of, um, using a traffic analogy, like moving the fender benders off the highway and like keeping the traffic flowing versus waiting till there's a ginormous collision, and it keeps the traffic flowing. So that process that you've implemented is incredible. Is there anything else that you're doing, or specific numbers? Let's say, do you have a day of the week that you look at certain numbers, or that you meet with your coach and you go through X, Y, and Z? Is there a structure to that for you as well?
Yeah, I do like a consistency. You know, we're creatures of habits always, but I like to do ours on Tuesday. We start our days off on Monday with our little job form, figuring out what our plan is, and then kind of recapping on Thursday. Obviously, just trying to survive through the weekend as a hairstylist.
Yeah.
Um, and I love the analogy that you just said about moving the traffic off to keep the flow going and shortening that distance. But yeah, definitely touching base with people, just like see what their behaviors are that they need to change. We use the numbers obviously as proof that your behavior is changing, but we really do want to do more of like greet your guests, take them up, invite them to come back, talk about their home care. So I always try to make sure that my team doesn't really like not my leaders, my staff members, that they're focusing on, they can see the numbers, but just use that to feel good. And we also do like quarterly reviews. So you can pull up all of their numbers anytime they've had a quarterly review. And, sometimes it is like it feels like your retail per client ticket's down or whatever it is. And it could use some improvement, sure. But when you are able to show them the entire, from the time that they started where they were like, I want to buy a car, and they've had 3 cars since then, or like they had 2 guests. I'm like, but look, yeah, it's maybe not where you want it, but look where you came from. So it's nice for them to be able to see that too, to be like, it's okay, give yourself grace.
Hey, business owners.
Yes, you. I know you're juggling it all: marketing, admin tasks, websites, podcasts, social media. The list never ends. That's where Spark comes in. We're a virtual assistant company built just for small business owners. Because once you're able to delegate, we know you'll be able to dominate. Our clients are seeing up to 30% increase in social media engagement and sales, all by letting us handle the behind the scenes work. Not to mention an incredible boost in flexibility, profit, and time. So scan the QR code right now to schedule a free chat with my team. Let's make you efficient AF and help you focus on what you do best: growing and leading your business.
I like that. And also that's like building rapport. And that's what I was kind of thinking of too. Um, how are you able to, that sounds like you found a balance in encouraging accountability and having that follow up and follow through while still remaining supportive and positive, and having an environment that feels like it's elevating. That's a pretty fine balance to be able to do. And that sounds like you're describing. Are there any other ways that you can think of that you've been able to do that, or that like little pointers?
Oh, goodness. I can say one of the things that I also do is when I come into the building, I don't run straight to the office. I've learned this over time because I don't know what they're thinking, if I look like I'm mad or if I have RBF or whatever is happening.
Yeah, heavy sprinting and they think you hate them.
Yeah. Well, that's actually the stress level too. So maybe it's not always as perfect, but trying to say hello to everybody maybe is a little bit much, but I try not to just go V-line to that office. I've learned that over time too, because perception of what I'm doing, which probably just have my hands full with all the stuff, that's another thing that I've added in there. It's really just peopling. And even when I look for leaders, you get a lot of people that have strong leadership skills, but they're very task oriented and they forget to be the hostess with the mostest. Like, go check on their team members, like maybe touch them on the shoulder of like, hey, do you need anything? Do you need more color? They probably need nothing, but it's just the fact that you ask them, have you drank any water? Like kind of messing around because I know you were dehydrated yesterday. And then also like greeting the guests, be that person at the restaurant that the manager walks around and touches base with the table and checks on it. You can feel love when you go to a business, and you can also feel it when it's like something ain't right, but you don't know.
Yeah. Well, you figure out that. And I actually love how you point that out too, in the restaurant thought. Like, hello, I'm just checking in on the manager. How's everything going tonight? You're kind of like, oh, very nice, thank you. Compliments to the chef versus versus like you're getting great attention, your server's taking great care of you and your table, and then knowing that someone else comes out and introduces himself and asks how everything's going, if things are up to your expectation. It's just that extra little level or layer of they care. And I think that that's a big thing. And it's subtle, right? It might even sound cheesy, like literally saying hello, peopling. I like you people. Peopling, the verb. You go and you say a hi. Did you need some water? I love it because when we started, right before we started recording, I have children that I was getting off to school, and Lisa was patient with me, and she's like, "Did you get some coffee today? Got my obnoxious peacock mug with my tea in it that I drink. I drink my mate every morning. My dad got me on it. He lived in Argentina for a while.
Oh goodness.
So that's my coffee in the morning. But like that was actually very sweet of you, and it was funny because we hadn't met face to face or talked yet. It was, did you get something to drink already? And maybe it was just you making small talk and being polite, but I kind of was like, oh, well, thank you. And yes, and if I was rushing getting the kids out the door and hadn't grabbed my drink yet, I would feel okay saying, I didn't. Can I go grab it really quick? And I would just feel like a little space and care. And I'm not your client and I'm not getting my hair done at your salon, but that was just a moment, a human moment. And it was very simple. And I think that is a perfect illustration. Sorry, we didn't record that part of our conversation, folks, but it can be as simple as, can I get more color for you? I see 2 towels piled up. I'm just going to clear those real quick. You see that something is lower out and you refresh it for them. I mean, it is really basic, but man, if we can stop to do that, it does make the difference between people noticing there's a nurturing, connected vibe in this space, or just feels like people are on their own little island. So that's cool. And that's a good way of helping your leaders. It sounds like you're leading by example, but helping them to do the same. And that kind of answers the question about how do you keep culture across multiple locations? You're giving this to your main leaders, and then they're in turn learning the same to do for theirs. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. I want to know too, because this is a hard one. You might have
Oh
the most
goodness.
talented stylist in the world. Well, I think it's hard. It's hard as a leader to figure out.
Okay. I'm like, oh no, what's so coming? What's coming?
No, it's not that hard. But I'm saying for those of us who
Okay.
want to know, how do you identify a future leader? Like they might be the best hairdresser, but how do you know like that person's ready for leadership? How do you grow your leaders?
Yeah, so that's actually our current next level that we're doing since all of the leaders that have been with me, which I am so blessed to have people that have been with us just rewriting a whole vacation package because I'm like, what? I have people that are going to be here over like a decade. I want that. What does that look like? Okay, I want to hire to retire, you know, but creating those spaces. But I really impress on my leaders of when we're looking for that person, it's not the person that's bossy. It's the person that they do have to have a level of organization solid, but I do need them to people first, and they're going to do what they see you do. So be the role model you expect if you want an assistant to get your life a little bit easier or harder. You have to lead by example to some level. So you're modeling that behavior just like as a parent.
Okay, awesome. And then do you have a leadership process where it's like, hey, I've noticed Lisa is a really incredible like educator. She seems to really nurture mentoring people. I'd like to handpick her to step into a role. How do you have a training? Do you have just kind of an organic way that they develop into it? How does that look in your team?
Yeah. So now that we have started doing this next level of really even looking for new leaders that are not part of that like first round and potentially like team leads, we've had to work really hard to create how to do what we do every day organically that you don't know what's coming at you. So yeah, we are working on a training program and we have some in line of the jot form for our new leaders. We're kind of test running that. And then also we don't like to bring people in that are not part of our culture already, because yes, they might be able to do the job amazingly, but they don't know the team. And if you don't have the team behind you, you got nothing. So it's one of those that I do have a girl at one of my locations. And I've talked to her a little bit about like, be the person you want to show up to be. She works a lot with you guys actually for my marketing team. So that's Grace. But it's one of those where, listen, I think you're really qualified for this position. And I don't want to put this right on you right this second, but I want to see how you behave and act with the team. And in a few months, we'll roll into that space, because I can't just go stick a leadership name on somebody. I've learned that the hard way. And then So yeah, it's one of those like show up as who you want to be and then have that conversation and kind of set dates and start layering in that training before you just rip that Band-Aid in. Because anytime you end up with like a brand new manager, everybody kind of gives a weird eye sometimes. So you have to navigate through it. You have to like share the love.
Yeah. And it sounds like sort of trialing them for that role or building them into it over a few months. And
Yeah.
especially as you're growing and you're growing so quickly, getting that to where you're doing like making it a process, getting trainings involved. I think that's really brilliant. And like you said, forms, going back to the process. You've got a process or a system in place. So you at least have something that's consistent going on. And then if you can also add into the layers of this is your actual protocol to develop into leader. I would love to know what advice you would give a salon owner who's struggling with culture or retention challenges. And typically retention challenges are a culture challenge.
Yeah. Always be hiring. Always be looking for that next person so you don't hire with desperation. Do not have somebody that is toxic to your culture. No matter how much money they make for you, you will lose everything if you keep that in. Negative cultivates negativity. And then just make sure you have strong P&L in case you want to sell it or just so you know what you're doing.
Sounds like you've got team building you've done as you've expanded. Like, hey, we're bowling, everyone can come, and they can be organic. The bigger you get, it's just a percentage game. If 2% of your team or 5% of your team can't come, well, that turns into lots more people the bigger you get. But making opportunities to hang out, to have those connection points, I think that's something that's probably a little bit underestimated. Just a simple way to gather outside of work can do a lot for culture. I think that's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's been some of my favorite things is when I find out, a couple of our team members were like, we want to do a book club. can we use a salon, on a night that we don't have clients?
Oh,
And so our
yeah.
Thursday, it's the Tuesday night or Thursday night, whatever. And there's a book club. And it's actually kind of like, not to be cheesy, but you're a mother, I'm a mother, and these are our team members, not our children, but I was like,
Right.
all the pictures, I was like, they like each other. It's like seeing your kids play nicely for the first.
Yes, they're not fighting.
How
I'll
did,
take it.
how did they fight? But there's like that tender moment of like, oh, they're like, they want to hang out. They're buddies. And I know my team gets along and it's great. But when I started seeing them take those initiative points, I'm like, I will do anything I can to support that and to create a space. Because it really is,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, like this is so good. It makes me so proud of my
Yeah.
baby. I love that. Um, you have a huge commitment to education, which I think that strong commitment from you, as you've mentioned, and it's grown into your own mentor, et cetera, has translated over to your team. In your opinion, why is continued education in today's industry so important?
Oh, besides the fact that it's always changing and you could watch the same foil placement 10 times and figure out from everything from how to be more efficient, saturation, and then maybe you're even watching The Educator because that's where your brain wants to go. It just depends what you pull from that. But the fact that it's always changing and techniques and Instagram, you really got to be able to, and you'll see a lot of social media, like take your pictures. The consumer now is just swiping, and you really have to make sure that your staff is loved to show love to that guest so you don't end up with a leaky bucket. Because if they don't connect to them, they're swiping and they're booking somewhere else. So
Yeah.
the connection you have to make with that guest is so important, and not to get slack on their 5th visit. Oh, they're there all the time. I'm going to move their appointment. You have to be so on it. It's insane.
Yeah. And I mean, you're talking about how things are changing so consistently. I mean, it
Yeah.
used to be, remember, because you've done hair long enough, when there were magazines, actually printed paper materials of like spring trends, and you get these magazines 2 or 3 times a year, as if that static 6-month-old printed magazine. I'm so embarrassed. I feel like I'm a grandpa talking like about back when that was a dirt road. And I remember, but there was magazines.
to the salon.
That was how you would get a magazine now. Then people would flip through the magazines and be like, I like this look. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine that even flying today? So things
No.
change. And now instead of changing seasonally, they change. Oh, that thing went on TikTok 3 days ago and it's viral. I mean, you think about the Olympic figure skater, Alyssa Liu, and she had, I think that was her name. She had the striped banded
Yeah.
hair. Yeah, okay, I got the right person's name. I don't really go on the social interwebs, okay, folks? That's what my team does for me. But I think that was her name. And it was like within 24 hours, everybody on hair forums were like, hey, folks, how do we make this hair go? How do we do this hair? Because it was that
Yeah.
quick that she was all over the news. And then that became the trend of the moment. And maybe people still are asking, but essentially that's how quick things change. So,
Yeah.
that feels impossible.
Yeah. Well, backing back up to education, exactly what you just said. But as a stylist or anybody in any industry, like in this beauty industry, it gives us a lens to know what's coming at us. So
Yeah.
when you take your education, you're like, oh, this updo is going to be the thing. They want this whatever color, this cut, whatever they're going to call it with the cool words. It gives you a chance to get your education quick.
Yeah.
If you need it, because the world is our oyster on the internet right now. So I wish we had YouTube back then when I was doing my makeup in middle school, but
So it sounds like we went to middle school around the same time. Was it blue eyeliner? Was it pretty bad? Because I think the purple mess blue eyeliner was happening for me circa 1990.
That's mathing. Yes. It's really accurate.
It's like you said, whatever cool words they put on it, whatever the name is, all of a sudden I'm like, it's the same damn thing we've been doing for 20 years, but I'm going to call it whatever you're calling it. And I'll know what you're referencing instead of looking like an old grandpa.
Yeah.
You know what's happening. The other thing too is I think with education, if you have that foundation, so you might not have learned how to do whatever they're calling Alyssa Liu's hair with a banded color, but you have the technique and foundation to say, I know how to create this in a way that makes sense because I have the foundation of education. So that's critical. What's one trend that you're seeing right now? And we're on different coasts, but it's probably not too different because things travel quicker. What are you seeing right now trending in the industry or in your area?
I feel like the girls on this coast right now are all cutting their hair shorter. Like it is kind of like in this little like cute, obviously the little balayages and stuff are going, but girls with long hair have been cutting it shorter.
Yeah.
So, of course, all the butterfly cuts and the bangs and whatever, but layers
So
on layers.
if you're an extension specialist, let's make sure we've got our education and our classic French bob and our classic cutting dialed in, because that hasn't come at you already. It's going to, and kind of fun to change it up too. For so long, my team, anybody who's coming to my team, joining us out of cosmetology school, they were like, I do long layers and balayage. I don't do short hair. I don't do razors. I don't do anything. And now
Yes.
those girls are wanting that Bixie. They're wanting the French bob. So what are you doing about it? So yeah, I mean, short hair, let's do it. Bring it on. And you and I both have longer hair. My hair is too wavy or curly-ish and thick. I look like a lampshade with short hair. So I'd have to just under shave it. But I'm like, nothing is as easy as a ponytail or a bun. So folks, I know it might not be trending, but too bad for me. I just want easy hair because I'm at
Yeah.
that.
Because I want to be lazy on some days.
No, every day. And it's not lazy, it's busy. There's a difference. I'm not sitting around.
Right. Yeah.
So I love it. My salon director, she had hair to the middle of her back and she's recently cut it. And it's so cute on her. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm obsessed. So yes, I'm seeing that too. Um, I would love, you guys and the growth and the business mindset, the pieces that you are really known for in addition to leadership, you've achieved incredible revenue growth and sustained it. What do you think's contributed the most to your success there?
Well, it's definitely watching the behaviors and the numbers, much like how you talked about watching for the car crash, is really being able to touch base with people and see what they need to do, which is a win for them. Because I don't know if I've ever really seen a lot of happy poor stylists. I want my stylists to make money and be busy and stay out of the back room because you know what happens back there. But that's always the goal. It's those little every day, it's consistency. That's to the drive. That's the work ethic in there. It's like, you just can't have that moment just be like, you can, but not for too long. You got to just keep an eye on everything and pay attention to it. And that's why I really feel like people understanding what those metrics are and what goes into that metric, understanding when they're figuring out their payroll, where is that coming from? Or
And
how much they can order.
minding your numbers. Yes, that's something that I think is pretty classically underrated because it's boring. Honestly, it's not
Yeah.
sexy. It's also not highly creative. And so how do you balance that as a leader, as an owner who runs a business? How do you balance creativity in the mix of staying focused on all that? Because it can kind of feel like two competing sides of a coin.
Yes. I feel like I could have probably been a school teacher, not that I would have served them well at all. But constantly, whatever my goal idea is that I'm wanting to grow financially, we're constantly creating challenges and games. And yes, that does get exhausted. I'm like, how much more song and dance can I do? I'm like, what prize? So we try to launch different challenges. Maybe it's your pre-books, or around Christmas we'll do, to get people more engaged in their numbers, is we'll run a challenge of, if you'll get a ticket for if your pre-books are at and this and that. And so whoever has the most tickets will win a trip. And one of the girls is actually on a trip this weekend. I just saw it pop up on my Zoom. I'm like, I'm not supposed to be there, but she's in Myrtle Beach. But just different things like that. But it's always trying to be creative for some kind of challenge and keeping them excited about it and not doing the same thing. And it's still a challenge. It is the solution, but it's always like, it takes work.
Yeah, so there's the sticker chart, then there's the tickets, then there's win a trip, and then there's this is your bonus, and then there's the drawing, and then there's the lunch for the team. And it's kind of like, we're going to just keep the song and dance changing. And the truth is, dynamics, mixing it up, keeping some things where everybody wins X amount, some things where it's a team goal. I think it's actually pretty underrated. To just keep people engaged and feeling creative as your leader. So you're really, what you're doing is a cute, creative way of focusing on numbers, driving the numbers, and growing the numbers, but you're adding your creative spin on it. That speaks to us, the creatives, the stylist team gets excited about that. I think that's cool. On a personal level, for personal growth and just being able to sustain the pace you keep in your own well-being with like you mentioned, you've got two beautiful children and these businesses and the growing teams. What kind of habits or I guess consistent things are you doing for yourself to be able to sustain this?
Well, I focus in on my leaders for sure so that they can carry some of the load, trying to make sure that they have a strong team so that they don't get overwhelmed and it all falls out from behind. But, I like to go to the gym almost every day, which never was my life before, but it's almost my outlet. And I'll sit on there and my brain just goes. Like it's we're doing whatever it wants to do as it's going. Um, and I try not to stay my entire day. I like to start off. There'll be just a day or two that I stay in the salon for a very the whole day. But I try not to just stay there and linger. If I'm not doing something productive, I try to then turn it to my family.
Okay, cool. So keeping a good mix so you're not burning out on one facet or another.
Right.
And then daily physical activity is tremendous for every area of our lives. It's interesting because yes, it makes us stronger. It helps our bones and it helps us age nicely and it helps us feel better and sleep better and all of the things and energy level. And I mean,
Right.
also them toned arms that you've got. But at the same time, it actually gives space for us to, like you mentioned, you might be going through workout and then your brain's thinking of a whole new thing you've got going on. It's just a way to mix
Yeah.
up the environment. I think that's awesome. Do you enjoy reading at all?
No, I'm not a super big reader. I do love listening to a lot of podcasts and I do enjoy reading, but I have to really take time to focus because with all the ADHD and stuff like that, I'll have to go back. So I'll have to read a book probably 2 times because then I realize I've skipped around or really wasn't paying attention. But yeah.
What podcast do you love listening to? What's your favorite? Like, do you have a leadership
Um,
or loving?
I listen to so many of them. I don't even know all of them. There's nobody that I listen to consistency. So I will listen to anything from somebody talking about a coffee shop, like in a business world for that, or how they see other industries. I like to kind of look outside of the hair world and see what people are doing, or especially on travel. Like when you go to a resort or you go on a cruise, the way that people roll out that extra, it stands out. And you're like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to add a hot towel for that, So,
Yeah. Okay. I think that's cool. And I mean, I appreciate the skipping around, not reading a book one way all the way through. I'm usually reading 8 books at a time, never finishing a single one of them. I've had books that I've truly been reading for like 3 years. They're not hard books. We're not we're not talking about anything amazing. It's not like a Ron Chernow biography epic. Just me taking 8 years to read a book. But I'm always getting something out of the 3 pages I read at a time. Um,
right.
and learning what you can do from a beautiful experience at a resort or in travel or at a restaurant and saying, that's a fun idea to pop back in here. It's just, it sounds like your brain is geared towards always looking at whatever outside can be brought back into enhancing your team, which is super cool. What is your biggest productivity hack? What's like your favorite little secret go-to weapon for your life?
Well, for the salon or for my life?
For you, for your life in general. Yeah.
I love to travel. So I book out my travel probably for 2 years sometimes because the schedule gets filled by events. And I also actually do that for my team so that they understand. I'm like, please plan your vacation. I want people to know that you can work really hard and you have a relief. Don't stay in the salon and turn crazy. And then, it gives you a reward for working hard. And when I do go on my trips, I'm actually not on a schedule. I don't care. I'll book a few things, but that's kind of my vice for myself to have a minute. And I do turn off, or I will set up that kitchen table wherever I'm at the Airbnb and it becomes my think tank for whatever project I've been really wanting to do to bring it to life. I use it for that too, which I enjoy. It's not stressful to me. I like working on projects.
Okay, I think that's really fun, and that's important. That your biggest productivity hack is scheduling time to intentionally not have to perform and produce. That's a huge productivity hack. Is schedule time for that downshift, that break. Also, I love that not only are you leading your team by example in that, but you're encouraging them. You're basically
Yeah.
saying you do not need to be in a toxic work environment. We are not looking for burnout and hustle culture. let's go ahead and schedule those breaks. I think that's cool. And likely why you have people who've been with you for so long. You got those people hitting their 10-year anniversaries and getting a big trip with you because that's a significant accomplishment.
It's interesting that the world now has people work 3 or 4 days or 5 days, where it was like 6 days or every single Saturday. And beginning in my career when I was owning my salon pre-COVID, that was really frowned upon by a lot of professionals. When I would say it, I got challenged a lot with their conversation of like, what does that do? Or, we are all in our dress code. I haven't like backed off of that, but now it's all everywhere. It's like you don't want to overwork them. So it's interesting that actually transferred into my life now. And now others are doing it after COVID. You had no choice, but.
Oh, for sure. But I love it when it's like, oh, I wasn't actually that crazy. Look at everybody doing what you did now, Lisa. So bravo for being ahead of that curve and adapting to what your team would need. What's one word do you think that your team would use to describe you?
Driven, loves a theme, and always has snacks.
I love it.
But I feel like they would feel dedicated, they would feel supported, and that I have their back always.
Nice. That's cool. Hey, those are some good words. Always have snacks. Tell me your mom without telling me your mom. It's like, I have enough calories in my glove compartment of my car that we could all live on a road trip for a week if our car broke down and nobody found us. Yeah, that's it. And honestly, that's pretty underrated as far as you got to have a drawer in your office where people know, like, I didn't have time for a snack. There's a protein shake and some granola bars and some beef jerky or whatever we need in that drawer for our team. Always having a snack. I love it. In closing, if you could leave any advice, share the best advice you've ever received with our listeners, what would that be?
It would be that your mind is open and it works like a parachute. So,
can you expand on that?
Yeah, I feel like I said this backwards, that your mind is like a parachute. It only works if it's open. So obviously I don't remember the whole quote, but I definitely remember that you have to be open-minded for your team to have discussions with you, for whether you're learning or or if you're absorbing, not to be a know-it-all. I feel like that is a true encompassment of like, you have to be open-minded about so many things to grow.
Well, with what you've accomplished, keeping an open mind seems like it must truly have been a huge thing that you've incorporated. And I love that as closing advice. This conversation has been delightful. I'm so glad that after being able to work together for quite some time, I've gotten to finally meet you, learn more about the incredible work that you're doing. And unfortunately, I don't think I have any trips coming up to North Carolina anytime soon, but I think I might need to, because I would love to come visit one of your locations and just see what you've created and inspired your team to accomplish. If anybody's wanting to find you, to learn about what, like maybe someone who's looking to relocate or someone in your area that wants to work with you, how can people find you and learn about your salon?
Yeah, so you can check us out on Instagram at Wild Olive Salon. We are near a military base, so chances are you will relocate here somehow. So we're in Jacksonville, North Carolina, Swansboro. We're right on the ocean. So, and in Morehead City, which has like one of the biggest tournaments that you win $1 million to catch a fish. I'm not a fisher, but yeah, come check us out, whether you're a guest or somebody moving to the area.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure anybody listening will have learned a ton. A lot of great nuggets packed in here for leadership and for growing a team and a successful and thriving culture across multiple locations. Thank you so much for your time today. Can't wait to see you this weekend at Data Driven.
Yes, thank you.